Hey everyone, I'm Samaker or just Sam, and welcome to the very first episode in my new flipping series, where we are going to flip 1 coin, 1 GP or 1 gold into 1 billion. Now you are probably thinking to yourself, Sam, please, you are never going to pull that off. Nobody has ever flipped from 1 GP to 1 bill. And the fact is, as far as I know, that is probably true. As far as my 45 seconds of research could tell, nobody has ever done this before. Or at least made us serious about doing it or something like that. I might be wrong, but I couldn't find anything after searching for like 45 seconds. And now you are probably thinking, well, what the hell, Sam? What makes you think you can do this then? Well, I know for a fact that I am at least somewhat capable of doing this because I have in the past flipped from 1 GP to about 145 million. I quit flipping about 6 months ago simply because I got bored of it. I'll be showing you some pictures and stuff in the background from some of the records I was keeping for myself, as well as some pictures from what the account looks like now, a good while after I quit. I believe there are some items that still haven't sold. I have not transferred anything to another account like my main or anything because my main is an Iron Man unfortunately, and it is the only account I currently play on. I did however sell some of the gold to a friend because I needed some money. Now I have to say, flipping from 1 GP to 145 million did take quite a few months. This is however mostly due to the fact that I was doing it very casually. Now I'm not saying that I'm going to be all in 100% hardcore flipping for this series, but I am going to be a bit less casual about it. I think that is pretty much everything I have to say before we get into this series. If you have any questions, feel free to comment them below and let's get into it. Originally I went with the name 1 bill coins, but then I realized that 1 bill coin would make much more sense since we are turning 1 coin into 1 bill, hence making it a 1 bill coin. So I went through Tutorial Island again, ran back to the GE and dropped everything except 1 coin once again, which is what you've been seeing in the background for a bit now. Alright, so enough with the intro, let's get into the flipping. Now as we're starting out with a single coin, we have to be pretty careful in terms of what we buy first. Of course we could probably buy something like a basket or vial that already has a steady price at around 1 GP, but we'd barely get anywhere with that if it would even buy. So I gave it a bit of thought, and for our very first coin I decided to try and go for a wooden shield. It's an item that everyone gets straight off of Tutorial Island and most people end up selling it to the GE. I figured since it's pretty much just a garbage item, a lot of people will probably put it in for just a single coin to get rid of it as fast as possible. It is however fairly expensive at over 100 coins, so I wasn't surprised when the next day we didn't get it. So I started looking around at all kinds of items and eventually I started to try to get some various bronze items. Nothing bought though, so eventually I left an offer for a bronze square shield overnight. This is a much cheaper item compared to the wooden shield at around 10 coins versus 100, but still the next day it hadn't bought. I decided to try and go for another bronze item, this time a warhammer. I logged in again the next day and it had been bought. Before selling it, I took a quick look at the OS body exchange prices and decided to try and sell it for 19 coins, 3 coins over the median price. Greed didn't work out though, and after a couple hours the offer was still sitting there, so I decided to lower the price to 14 coins. Despite being underpriced, it didn't sell for a bit. A few hours later it was sold though, and I had finally sold and bought the very first item, a bronze warhammer, and we're now sitting at 14 coins. I decided to try and buy 5 new ones as well as 5 bronze chain bodies and a couple fishing nets. This time the warhammers didn't buy though, neither did the small fishing nets. This just goes to show that when trying to buy something for such low prices, it's mostly just about luck. We did however get the bronze chain bodies, so I put those up for sale and decided to try and buy some bronze maces and daggers. I kept flipping bronze items for a bit, mostly chain bodies and maces, as they seemed to work the best for me at the time. They were all selling and buying quite randomly though, there was no real consistency to it. That is sort of to be expected though, since pretty much the only time people buy and sell those are when they start doing smithing. I kept trying a bunch of other stuff like square shields and short bows as well, but some of it worked okay, but none of it was a huge success. I kept doing maces and chisels until I had about 500 coins, at which point I stopped doing maces and stuck to chisels, as the maces felt too random and unpredictable. I kept doing chisels whilst testing a bunch of other items until I had over 1000 coins, at which point I started doing hammers as well. Hammers and chisels worked pretty well with a cash stack of a few K. After a bit I started doing iron fulhams as well, which turned out to be pretty good. I also decided to try and go for some ores and bought a piece of tin ore. Turned out that I couldn't sell it because of some new account grand exchange rule, so I've been keeping it in the bag since. After that tin ore incident, I stuck with just hammers, chisels and iron full helms for a while, and I had around 10k or so when I decided to try some bronze bars. Bronze bars were a terrible idea, so let's forget those. I kept doing the free items for a bit more and then I decided to try a rune axe. It worked okay, but I had to use over half of the entire cash stack just to hold an offer for it, so it wasn't really working out at the time. I flipped a rune axe a couple times and I made a K or so, but it wasn't too good. I tried some strength potions as well and they weren't a disaster, but not a success either. After a bit I decided to try adamant axes, and now I have to tell you, adamant axes were a massive success. Now the price for an adamant axe is about 1k, but whilst I was flipping this, the price was all over the place. At one point the price was down to 525 GP, and another time it was up to around 3k. On average I was probably almost doubling my money when buying and selling them. I kept doing the chisels and addy axes whilst trying some various other items like molds, unholy symbols, pie shells, and some of them sort of worked out and some of them were terrible, but nothing really caught on too well. I stopped doing chisels at this point and stuck to adamant axes whilst trying out other items. The adamant axes kept working like a charm, and after a while I started doing adamant pickaxes as well. They actually worked almost as well as the axes. I didn't record any clips of flipping the axes and pickaxes, because it was basically just doing the same thing over and over. We did however take a few pictures of the history. Within a couple of days of flipping adamant axes with pickaxes, I had reached over 100k, but I was still sitting on the damn tin ore being unable to sell it. My guess is that an account must have been online for a certain amount of hours to be able to sell certain items. It says that it has to be older, but at this point it's been over a week since the account was made, so it's probably about the hours that the account has been online. But that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed, and I actually have to apologize in advance for the next episode because I think I'm gonna have to blur out one of the items I'm currently flipping. I've found a really odd item that is working even better than both the adamant axes and pickaxes right now. I'll tell you all about it when I'm done with it, but if it keeps working this well, I'll probably be using it past the next episode. We'll see though. For now, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Feel free to let me know what you thought with a comment, dislike or like or whatever, and I'll see you in the next one.